My wife got her doctorate in psychology the same afternoon she decided I was her biggest problem. It was almost poetic timing, or cruel, depending on how you looked at it. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The university lawn looked like something straight out of a glossy brochure. White folding chairs lined up in perfect rows, ribbons fluttering in the breeze. String lights wrapped around the big oak trees, and the soft glow made everything look warmer than it really was. The late afternoon sun hit the champagne glasses just right, turning them into little flashes of gold. People stood in small groups, laughing too loud, trying to sound smarter than they were, drinking a little faster than they should have. It was exactly the kind of celebration academics loved. Polite chaos disguised as sophistication. Emma was in her element. She floated from one group to another, talking, smiling, pretending to listen, her laugh sharp and practiced. I stood off to the side near the refreshment table, holding a half-empty glass, watching her. She had earned this day. 7 long years of study, sleepless nights, endless papers and revisions. I'd seen her cry over data that wouldn't fit her theory, curse at professors who doubted her work, and wake up at 3 a.m. to rewrite chapters from scratch. She'd worked for every bit of this success, and I was proud, honestly proud. "Daniel!" Professor Trent's voice cut through the hum of the crowd. He was holding up a drink, grinning, already a few glasses in. "Come celebrate your brilliant wife." I crossed the grass, careful not to spill my drink on my shirt. Emma turned toward me, her face flushed from wine and victory. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, the way she wore it when she wanted to look serious, professional, untouchable. "There he is," she said with that too bright smile. "My constant supporter." Everyone raised their glasses. I raised mine too. We drank. "Speech!" someone yelled from the back. Others joined in, clapping and cheering. Emma laughed, that bright, confident laugh she used at conferences and faculty parties, the one that always sounded just a little rehearsed. All right, she said, climbing onto a chair. She steadied herself with a hand on Professor Trent's shoulder as the crowd fell quiet. "I want to thank everyone who helped me reach this point," she began. "Professor Trent, for pushing me to go beyond what I thought I could do. My cohort, for all the late nights, the brutal feedback, the caffeine and breakdowns. And Daniel?" She looked down at me then. Something flickered across her face. Not quite anger, not quite pity. Daniel, who taught me the most important lesson of all, knowing when to let go of what's holding you back. There was a ripple of awkward laughter, followed by confused applause. I forced a smile, though my chest tightened. I didn't understand what she meant. Not yet. Then she reached into her blazer pocket and pulled out a cream-colored envelope. It looked official. Heavy paper, crisp edges. "To freedom," she said, raising her glass high. "To finally losing my burden." The envelope dropped from her hand and landed right in front of me on the white tablecloth with a soft, deliberate thud. For a second, I didn't move. The world felt very still. I picked it up, opened it slowly. Divorce papers, already signed, already notarized. All that was missing was my signature. A nervous laugh escaped from somewhere in the crowd. Professor Trent cleared his throat and looked away. Emma stood tall on that chair, chin lifted like she'd just defended another thesis and won. "Emma," I said quietly, "you're doing this here?" "I'm doing this now," she said flatly. "I spent 7 years becoming someone. I don't need permission anymore." The crowd had gone silent. Even the music had faded into the background. Somewhere nearby, ice shifted in a cooler. Someone's phone buzzed and went unanswered. I looked at the papers again, then at her, at the woman I'd supported through every deadline, every breakdown, every doubt. "Do you have a pen?" I asked. She blinked, caught off guard. What? A pen, I said, to sign. Professor Trent, looking like he wanted to disappear, fished one from his pocket and handed it to me carefully, as if it were dangerous. I took it, signed both copies, dated them, slid them across the table. Congratulations, Dr. Cross, I said. You've earned everything you wanted. I set the pen down, finished my champagne in one long swallow, and started walking toward the parking lot. Behind me, the sounds of the party slowly returned. Soft laughter at first, then louder as the champagne kept flowing. Someone turned the music back up. I heard Emma's laugh again, brighter now, freer, as if she'd just shrugged off a weight. I didn't look back until I reached my car. Through the trees, under the string lights, she stood surrounded by her colleagues, glowing in that golden light, confident, validated, untouchable. She had really done it, ended us in front of everyone who mattered to her. I got in the car and drove west. The road stretched out dark and empty, lined with nothing but shadows. 300 miles later, I stopped for gas somewhere I didn't recognize. When I looked in the rearview mirror, there was nothing behind me, just highway and darkness. The first week, I lived in my car. Not because I had nowhere else to go, but because I needed to understand what nowhere felt like. I parked at rest stops along the highway, sleeping in the back seat with my jacket as a pillow, the smell of gasoline and coffee always in the air. Mornings started with the sound of engines and truck doors slamming. I'd wash up in gas station bathrooms, run cold water over my face, and stare at myself in the mirror, the same face, but quieter somehow. Not because I was broke, I wasn't. I'd been saving for years, money tucked away in an account Emma never bothered to check. I could have afforded a motel, even an apartment if I'd wanted. But I didn't want comfort. I wanted stillness. I wanted to feel the weight of having nothing, no house, no expectations, no one waiting for me to play my old part. By the second week, I drifted north and ended up in a small Oregon town called Fairhaven. Population 3,000, give or take. One main street that ended at the harbor, mountains faint in the distance, and air that always smelled like salt and pine. The kind of place where people still waved when you drove by and said hello like they meant it. I found a room above a bookstore on the corner of Main and Harbor. 600 square feet, maybe less, with slanted ceilings that made me duck in the corners and a window that looked out over the water. The owner, Diane, was in her 60s, gray hair in a loose braid, glasses hanging from a chain around her neck. She didn't ask many questions, just looked me over and said, "First month's rent and you can have it." "No references?" I asked. "Nope." "Background check?" She smirked. "You running from the law?" "Just a marriage," I said. Good enough. The place was small but clean. I bought a used desk from a thrift store, a lamp that flickered when it rained, and a second-hand laptop that sounded like it was breathing. I started doing freelance editing for academic papers. A strange sort of irony, really. I'd spent years helping Emma polish her research, and now I was polishing strangers' work for money, proofreading conclusions while ignoring my own. But it paid well enough, and I understood the rhythm of it, the formal tone, the quiet ego, the endless obsession with commas and citations. You don't need a doctorate to fix someone's comma splices. Emma's first email came 3 days after I arrived in Fairhaven. Subject: "We should talk, Daniel. I know you're upset, but we can handle this like adults. Call me." I deleted it. A week later, another one. Subject: "Really? You're going to ignore me? After everything I gave you? I supported your adjunct position. I brought in the real income. The least you can do is have a conversation. Delete." Then they changed tone. Shorter, sharper. "You're pathetic, running away like a child. I knew you couldn't handle a strong woman. My lawyer says you're not contesting anything. Smart. You'd lose anyway. Hope you're okay, wherever you are." I'm doing amazing, by the way. Already got 2 job offers. I read every one of them. Never replied. There was nothing left to say that wouldn't drag me backward. The final email came 3 months after I left. Subject: last message. You'll regret staying small, Daniel. You'll wake up one day and realize you had a chance to be part of something bigger, but you chose mediocrity. Don't blame me when you're still nobody in 10 years. I didn't regret it, not one bit. Diane started offering me more work around the shop, shelving books, checking inventory, helping customers find things they didn't know they wanted. I took it gladly. The rhythm was simple, clean. Mornings editing manuscripts, afternoons at the bookstore, evenings walking the pier while the sun dipped behind the mountains. Sometimes I'd stay late, reading by the window while the tide came in, the water reflecting the last orange light. I wasn't hiding. My name was still mine, my email still active. If Emma ever wanted to find me, she could have. But she didn't. She'd already gotten what she wanted. The freedom to be Dr. Cross without the burden of the adjunct husband trailing behind her. 6 months later, Diane introduced me to Tina, who ran the little cafe 3 doors down. The kind of place that smelled like cinnamon and espresso even from outside. She said she needed someone who could manage the books, handle supply orders, maybe run a few writing workshops since she'd heard I worked with academics. Not much money, Tina warned, wiping her hands on her apron, but free coffee. Sold, I said. The cafe became my morning home. I'd open at 6, brew the first pot, and set out the pastries Tina baked the night before. Regulars trickled in, fishermen smelling like salt, teachers with tired eyes, retired couples who read the paper out loud to each other. They'd ask what brought me to Fairhaven. I told them I was starting over. That was always enough. No one pressed. I started a blog one night when I couldn't sleep. Nothing fancy. Just short essays about writing, editing, surviving academia. Honest thoughts about burnout, imposter syndrome, the quiet desperation of adjunct life. Things people whispered about in hallways but never said out loud at faculty meetings. It started small, a few readers, then a few hundred. Slowly, it grew. People shared it. Comments came in from grad students, adjuncts, even professors. Some said the posts made them feel seen. Others said I was bitter. Both were true. After a while, someone from the University of Oregon emailed, asking if I'd guest lecture, then Portland State, then a literature festival in Seattle. Each time I almost said no, but I didn't. I wasn't chasing a career anymore. I was just writing what I knew. 3 years after Emma dropped those papers in front of me, I got an email from Dean Harper, from our old university. Subject: employment verification. Daniel, Emma Cross has requested we verify your adjunct position dates and responsibilities. Standard procedure for her CV. Can you confirm you left voluntarily in May 2022? Also, saw your name in a Chronicle of Higher Ed article. Nice work. Hope you're well. I stared at it for a long time. The cursor blinked like it was waiting for me to make peace with something. Finally, I replied, confirm I resigned voluntarily. And thanks, I'm doing better than well. I hit send, leaned back, and let the quiet fill the room. That's when I knew she'd been looking. Emma found me through my writing. One of her graduate students cited my blog in a paper about adjunct labor conditions. Emma must have Googled me, found the lectures, the published essays, the small but steady reputation I'd built. She contacted Dean Harper first, then the bookstore, then Tina's cafe. Tina came to me looking concerned. Some woman called, says she's your ex-wife, wanted to know when you'd be in. What did you tell her? That I don't give out schedules. Tina wiped down the counter. She cried a little, said she just wanted closure. Did she mention the divorce party? Tina raised an eyebrow. She did that at a party? In front of 50 people. Mid-toast. Jesus. Tina shook her head. People who burn bridges forget fire leaves light. 2 weeks later, the formal email arrived. Subject: attending your lecture. Daniel, I saw you're giving a talk at the Fairhaven Community Center on recovering from academic burnout. I'd like to attend. I promise I'm just coming to listen. No drama. Emma. I read it 3 times. Then I replied, it's a public event. You don't need my permission. The night of the lecture, I arrived early. 30 chairs set up in the community center's main room. Diane brought cookies, Tina made coffee. Local writers filled most of the seats, people I'd worked with, taught, encouraged. I saw Emma walk in at 7:50. She took a seat in the back row, wearing a dark blazer and jeans. Her hair was shorter, tired lines around her eyes. She didn't wave or smile, just sat there, watching. I started the lecture. Academia taught me that survival means silence, I said. You don't complain. You don't question. You accept low pay, no security, and constant evaluation because someone might notice your brilliance eventually. That's the myth. The truth. The system's designed to grind you down until you either quit or become part of the machine. People nodded, took notes. I talked for 40 minutes about exploitation, resilience, finding meaning outside institutional validation. Emma sat motionless. At one point, I saw her wipe her eyes. When the Q&A ended, people clustered around, asking questions, sharing stories, thanking me. I shook hands, exchanged emails, laughed at someone's joke about faculty parking. Emma waited until the room cleared. Then she approached, that rehearsed smile I remembered from faculty mixers. You look well, she said. I am well. I wanted to apologize. Maybe talk, if you have time. I set down the marker I'd been holding. You already did talk. You just picked a crowd. She flinched. That wasn't fair. I know that now. I was overwhelmed, trying to prove something. I needed to individuate. You didn't individuate, Emma. You evacuated. Silence. Someone laughed in the hallway. Diane poked her head in, saw us, disappeared again. I thought we could both see this as a success story, Emma tried. We both grew, went different directions, no hard feelings. Yes, I said. Just in opposite directions. You're right about that. She shifted her weight, the confident Dr. Cross facade cracking. Did you ever miss me? I considered lying, decided she'd earned honesty. For a while, yes. Then I stopped remembering the sound of your voice. Her composure broke. Tears now, real ones. Daniel, I'm asking for closure. Coffee, maybe. Just to talk. The shop's closed, I said quietly, permanently. She looked around the room, saw the faces that knew me. Tina, Diane, the writers I'd mentored. Saw a community I'd built while she'd been building her CV. The balance of power had quietly, completely inverted. I made a mistake, she whispered. No, I corrected. You made a choice. You got exactly what you wanted. You just didn't think about what I'd do with mine. Emma stood there another moment, searching for something to say. Found nothing. She turned and walked toward the door, shoulders curved inward. I called after her. Emma? She stopped, turned. Congratulations on tenure, I said. I heard you made associate professor. She nodded slowly. Then she left. Through the window, I watched her cross the dark parking lot, alone in the rain. She got in a rental car and drove away. Tina appeared beside me. You okay? Yeah, I said. I really am. I walked back to the front of the room and wiped the chalkboard clean. White dust covered my hands. Outside, Fairhaven settled into its quiet evening rhythm. Boats creaking in the harbor, wind through the pines, the smell of coffee and salt air. She'd called me her burden. I'd carried her lesson, learned it, passed it. Some people graduate from you. I just learned to pass.